The home-based decision and consumerism, buying things, it's always lurking in our minds. That's what I want to talk about in this video. I pretty much advocate, or at least I encourage myself and others if they want, to live a simplified, minimalistic life. Now, to be fair, I've lived both lives. I've lived in a nice house. I've lived with nice belongings. And I don't begrudge anyone who wants to live that life. But for me, I'm sharing what inspires me and what encourages me. And at this season of my life, it's living a simple life with less stress, less financial obligations, and less things to maintain and less things to have anxieties about. Just what I've noticed is when you have more things, you worry about them more. Just like when you have a child, you worry about it. It's like, your belongings are your like kids, and so I want to eliminate as much stress as possible in this world. But what I've learned is I'm a little bit on the extreme side because I do live out of my car. I live out of one bag, so I understand that, but this works for me. It keeps my life in harmony and in balance at this time. But what I have learned over the course of the past 2 years living out of one bag is that throughout that 2-year period, there's moments in your mind where you wonder to yourself, is it time to buy a home base? Settling down is such a human emotion based on how society has conditioned us and how we are, I think, as humans. So you always kind of think, should I be settling down? And then buying things, you're always kind of thinking, should I upgrade a car? Should I upgrade an RV? There's a lingering thought there in your mind. And I want to address this during the course of this video. I was just sitting in Starbucks and I said to myself, Sam, is it time to get a home base, like a RV lot or something like that, by the beach? See if you can get something that's below your means. I would always buy something below my means. Below your means means that you buy something that has a low expense or low monthly expense that is low in proportion to your average monthly income. Now, monthly income, you could have a great job and get laid off tomorrow, which I have had happen in the past. And so you can never guarantee on income, but you can have some type of average to create a budget. So, sometimes I repulse at the idea of having a home base, but sometimes I say to myself, is it time to settle? And this goes back and forth. It never, because it's always like emotion. Just like you kind of go back and forth. Should I buy something? Should I not? It has gotten less for me over time because this is what I learn as I think it through. I don't just act on emotion, I think it through. And I leave myself the option to change my mind at any time. I'm not going to put myself in a corner ever to say I have to think like this forever. That's dogma. I'm not going to do that, or that's, like a doctrine. So I was sitting in Starbucks and I was saying to myself, Sam, is it time to get an RV lot by the beach? Do you want to, I was having the idea of sitting on a piece of property, on an RV lot, in a small little RV, working on my computer, drinking coffee, and being happier. And then I started to think it out. I thought about my own life experiences, when I had a house or when I've had certain things. What I've learned is there's a difference between the idea and the reality. I remember when I was dating a girl, or we were seeing each other, we were like friends and we were like on the verge of having a relationship. And she said to me one day, because I was kind of pushing her to have a relationship, she said, Sam, she goes, you like the idea of a relationship, but you don't like the reality of a relationship. The idea of a relationship is that it's all like, fun, going out to dinner, snuggling. Every conversation is like, very exciting, and, there's never any issues. But the reality of a relationship is that's, 5-10% of the relationship. The other 90% is work, hearing people talk about what you already heard them say a million times, and aggravation, waiting on people. And so I applied that principle, which I think she was wise. A lot of times we as humans, we like the idea of something, but we don't like the reality. Not all the time, but I'm sharing my thoughts here. So the idea of a home base, I'm sitting there in Starbucks and say, I'm on this RV lot, palm trees are there, I'm by the ocean. Now, one thing I will say is I always wanted to move to Florida. Anyone who watches this channel knows that my main reason for downsizing and for starting to live out of my car, I did it for just about 2 years in New Jersey, and within this past year I moved to Florida, was because I wanted to move to Florida. Now, I did also want to live a more simplified life. That was part of it. And then as I started downsizing, I got more excited about how much I could save and how much I could live free, and it just kept evolving. But the end goal was just basically to be in Florida, living below my means, and then just kind of figure it out as I go. And so I've achieved that goal. I'm in Florida. I'm living below my means. I was able to obtain a remote job. So all those things through hard work and through patience have come into play. So now I say to myself, do I want a home base? But then I'm thinking of myself on this RV lot, in an RV in my mind, the idea of having a home base. And I said to myself, is the reality though, would I still end up in Starbucks? You know, I'm sure like there'll be one morning, two morning where I make my own coffee. But the reality is probably I'll wake up, you know, at my RV lot, and then I'll probably get in my car, and then I'll probably come to Starbucks anyway. You know what I've learned in having a house, one thing that you can really tell is sometimes you think you're saving money by getting a coffee machine and making coffee. Not the reality for most people. You buy a coffee machine, you buy the filters, you buy the coffee itself, the grinds, and you have to clean up. It's a mess. And it's never the same as when you can buy coffee in the store. Never, even if you buy Starbucks grinds, they're not the same. Remember the Kegger eggs? I had a Kegger egg. Say, you know, you spend all that money and you'd have to make coffee at home every day for like a year for it to pay off. And most people don't do that. I didn't do that. I went through so many Kegger egg and coffee makers. You know, you like the idea of making coffee at home that you save $1 or 50 cents or whatever a day. But the reality is you still end up at Starbucks. That's my reality, and that's what I've experienced in my life. And so I said to myself, Sam, is it worth it to, you know, increase my monthly expenses from anywhere to $800 to $1,200 per month? And I say just to have, you know, just the idea of having coffee and relaxing and not being by other people in Starbucks, I don't think so, not yet. I mean, maybe as I get older, but still not yet. And I don't even know if as I get older, because I've had the experience of having my house. I've had the experience of making my own coffee. And now, again, I'm at where I always wanted to be. I'm at Florida. I'm living a more simple life. But I just want to bring up for mindfulness that whether it's buying a home base, whether it's buying a new car, buying a new RV, buying a new anything, a new coffee machine, I'm not against it. And always leave your mind open to purchase whatever you want if you work for it, and if it's below your means, do you. But think it through. Ask yourself, how does this really improve my life? Does this new car really improve my life? Does this new house, does this new whatever really improve my life? Or do I just like the idea of it, and then eventually will I still end up in Starbucks? Eventually will I still end up like I'm bored with this car? Eventually will I still end up like, the high is gone, and then the reality is set in. I'm stuck in something. You're stuck in a commitment. You're stuck in an obligation. All obligation and all commitments aren't necessarily bad. And there's a time and a season in life for everything. But at least I'm not perfect, and I'll never be perfect, and never will you, so always give yourself grace. And we all spend our money in different ways, so don't let anyone guilt trip you. But at least I'm trying to develop a habit in my life of becoming mindful of thinking things out and really thinking about the reality. Now, even after I do all that, I'm still human, so I can still make the wrong decision. I give myself the grace to make the wrong decision. You should give yourself the grace to make the wrong decision. You'll get further in life. But try to learn, try to be honest with yourself, and fail forward. And if you're going to fail in Florida. Because then at least, you're still in Florida. But I just wanted to talk this out about having a home base, about acquiring stuff, about materialism, about becoming mature in thinking past just the initial high, because the end goal is to live as free as possible, as simple as possible, so you can live a fulfilled life. Not just a life with stuff and storage units, but a fulfilled, peaceful life. Do whatever you want, change your mind whenever you want. These are my thoughts for today. Peace and love.